Raven make some copies of the assessment for me. So we're gonna look through it right now, and while it's still fresh in your mind, and we're gonna look through all the questions and see like what people should have been thinking as they answered each of those questions, and how they could have eliminated some options. All right. And I know the only person that hasn't taken this assessment is Kayla, but Kayla will be receiving an alternate form of assessment. So don't think it's unfair or something. It's for the benefit of all of us. So right now, what I want us to do is, and I don't like that. I don't like the whole like reading question per question, but we're gonna have to do it like that. So like popcorn, read, like the question, taking a question and giving your analysis and rationale behind it. Similar to how we did it when we had the clickers. Okay? So Wilbert, go ahead and take number 1. So Wilbert, yeah.
The smallest unit of matter into which an element can be divided and still have the characteristic chemical properties of the element is called, and I put atom.
You put atom. What did you think about when you answered that?
Because atom is the smallest thing, point blank.
Point blank. So that was it?
Yeah, I thought electrons were.
So I mean, if you look through the options, and you know, I think yeah, a lot of times it's gonna be the case. You're gonna think, oh, I see this question, and right now, yeah, this is like a pretty simple question, right? We know, yes, it's atoms, but what I want you to not get into the habit of is to think, oh, like something seems simple, and I'm just gonna go with what I think it is, because that may be like, you know, I guess a path towards the wrong path, I guess. Is that like I don't know if that's what I'm saying, but just the whole thing is you want to really make sure that that's the question, right? And at the beginning when I told you how to start, I told you had about a minute per question, so try to also take advantage of that time. Not saying that, oh, every question is going to be difficult, you're going to need that minute, but really analyze it. So we know that elements we talked about like being the simplest form of what? Matter? Well, matter? No, not like. What was it? So what are elements the simplest?
Oh, elements.
Elements are what?
It's like,
Can elements be broken down?
no.
Huh?
No, they're going to be combined. No, it's a compound.
So Josh, so can they be broken down?
No.
No, they cannot. What are elements made up of though?
Atoms.
Atoms. Okay, so elements are made up of atoms. Is atoms another option on here?
Yeah.
Yes, therefore I can cross what? Elements off, okay? And this is just us getting into the habit of like this breaking down type of method. Okay, so I go through and I'm like, okay, elements are made up of atoms. Then I'm like, oh, okay, electrons.
They are smaller.
Electrons are smaller, and they do make up what? They do make up atoms.
But they don't have the chemical.
So you can get into like chemical characteristics. So that's another thing that I will leave that one up in the air. And then molecule is what? They're made up of what? Multiple atoms, right? So then I'm crossing that one off again. And then cells is referring to. It's referring to what, Ray?
The body.
The body, and what specifically though with the body? What's the key word? Huh?
The smallest unit of the body matters.
Let's just let one person at a time.
Right. The smallest unit of the body.
Not of the body, exactly, but the body is what? It's a unit of,
Matter.
Right? Matter?
God, y'all confusing me.
So yeah, that's why we want to make sure it's only one person at a time. Those are time. Okay. So Ray, we're what? We're what type of organisms?
Multicellular organism.
Multicellular organisms, and cells are what? What's at the end of the day, we're all guaranteed what? Death. Okay, thank you, Wilbert. Right. So what's the opposite of death, sir?
Life.
Life. So, and I'm sorry that I'm extending this and making it more complicated than it needs to be, but we want to make sure that when we're talking about cells, we're connecting cells to what?
To life.
Right, life. Yes, sir. So please make sure that you're connecting cells to life. So thinking about cells, yes, they're the smallest unit of something, but they're the smallest unit of life. So cells will be crossed out. Okay. All right, cool. So then, who wants to take 2? David.
Which of the following is not an isotope with element X? I put A.
A.
Because it's the only different one there.
No,
B is the one.
B is the only different one.
Why?
So,
B has a 7.
Well, see, I don't know how to do this. I want to talk.
okay. So I saw your hand go up first, Dimitri. So do you want to explain it to David? You want to write on the board too? Because I think maybe you need to do that. Go ahead. Idalia.
So I guess because I don't mean, right? I mean, does work?
Yeah, it does.
So most of them always had like the X and then the number 6 at the bottom. So whether it was like 12 or 13x6. The only one that didn't was B, which was 12x7.
Yeah.
That's how I did. That's my reason.
And what's the number at the bottom? What is the number at the bottom?
Any like proton?
Very something like the mass.
It's the same element, but different number of protons. It's the same element, different number of protons.
Different number of protons. So the number at the bottom is indicating what? The number of protons.
Yes.
Okay. Question 3. So did you get that though before I continue?
Oh, yeah.
So the number at the bottom is going to indicate the number of protons. When we change that number, that's an isotope. Raven, 3.
Science is defined as. I put good. We attempt to discover how the natural world.
Okay, so,
Well, then,
all right, so Wilbur, well, actually, no, Ashley, because I think I heard you agreeing with A. Why did you, huh? Knowledge of the living and non-living components of the earth. That may sound right.
Isn't it ecology though?
Huh?
Isn't it ecology?
So ecology, right? That's so trick there. I mean, but ecology is what? It's still
It's
science.
science, so that can't be it. It has to be like the more broad statement.
Yes, so it has to be broader. So that's sort of what we get into when we get into questions like that, right? So science is something broad, right? So when we're talking about like, oh, what the definition of it's gonna be, we don't want to just define it as like, oh, the study of life, right? Because in science, yes, we do study life, but there are many other things that we study. So which of these statements is gonna be, you know, the broader, like the broadest statement sort of that applies to what science is about? So yeah, the answer would be B, because that's getting at like, oh, we're attempting to discover how the natural world works.
That doesn't make sense.
Why? What part do you think you're confused about?
I think the answer is A because the living, everything living, all the organisms, whatever, that falls into a bunch of other cats. Non-living, there's a bunch of things that's non-living.
So, excuse me.
That's as broad as you can get.
So I
It
hear
don't
how
have to be
to
ecology.
So,
Think of everything that's non-living and living, that falls under everything.
so just our knowledge of it though? It's just, do you think science is only about knowledge?
Not knowledge, but like finding stuff up. Like finding stuff out.
That becomes knowledge. That becomes knowledge, though, because even if you're trying to figure it out, the whole point of the whole science is if you're trying to figure it out.
That's your question.
It comes into knowledge.
The what?
If science is trying to figure things out,
So gentlemen over there,
it goes
join the
into
conversation.
knowledge regardless.
Can you repeat that, please?
Say it again.
That, and then
Yes.
science, and then part of science is that they're always trying to figure something out and look for something that becomes a part of knowledge, because obviously they're trying to figure something out still.
So-
knowledge. Yeah.
So, but what I would argue though here is that what I think breaks the difference between A and B is the whole discovering part, because I think in science it's not just a state of knowing, it's a state of like, that's why we do research, right? That's why we do all of these things to find further things that will get us to the point of knowing. So you need to go into discovery mode before you get into knowing mode.
We already know.
But the
Because
stuff,
that's the
but the
exact-
stuff
but
that
it
we
goes
know,
into
that's not
the-
science still.
But that's the exact definition of ecology, so why would it be science?
That's not the exact definition.
It pretty much is. That's
It's
like
not
a
the
broad-
exact definition,
It's
I'll
like a
argue.
broad statement.
So Josh, why is this not the exact definition of ecology?
Why is what
A.
Give me A and B.
No.
Huh?
Is
the same definition of ecology.
Ashley or Betsy.
There we go, that's.
Betsy, yes, cause. Come on, let's have some aquarium representation here. Why is that not the definition of ecology?
Letter A?
Yes.
Okay, because ecology is like how the animals, like, are involved in the environment, how they inhabit.
This is just animals.
No,
How
no, like
how
living
everything
environment.
interacts with
So every living, and what was the key word that you said, Betsy?
Interact.
Interact, yeah, so interact. So we don't see that word there, but still, I go back to, and I think that the defining word between those two answer choices is gonna be the discovery part. Because science, it's mainly, research is involved in it, and before we, just have the knowledge of something, we need to, attempt to discover it, and attempt to go through the process of finding those answers. We didn't just get this knowledge